At an audition for Oliver's play Death Rattle, struggling actress Loretta Durkin impresses him. At the play's read-through, Loretta stumbles with her lines, leading Ben Glenroy, the lead, to push Oliver to fire her, but Oliver believes in her talent. On opening night, Ben collapses on stage and is declared dead. Ben suddenly reappears, claiming food poisoning, and apologizes for his past behavior while subtly insulting Loretta. Later, as Mabel tells Charles and Oliver she's moving out of the Arconia, Ben's dead body crashes down in front of them. At Ben's funeral, Mabel and Charles meet Greg, who claims to be Ben's security guard but is actually an obsessed fan. He kidnaps them and almost tortures them to get a confession for Ben's murder. But Detective Biswas arrives and arrests Greg as the supposed killer. Mabel doubts Greg's guilt. She and Charles decide to start a third podcast to find the real killer, though Oliver is hesitant. Charles tries to find out which cast member lost their handkerchief, thinking it could point to the killer. Meanwhile, Mabel searches Ben's apartment for clues and meets Tobert, Ben's documentarian. They hide when Ben's brother and manager, Dickie, enters, and Tobert reveals he's making a documentary about Ben's murder. Loretta tells Oliver she landed a TV role in LA, but Oliver convinces her to stay. Loretta stays, and she and Oliver kiss. Tobert shows Mabel footage of Ben talking to someone off camera in his dressing room. At the same time, Charles discovers that Kimber, Ben's on-screen love interest, lost her handkerchief. The trio suspects Kimber might have killed Ben after a failed affair, but she tells Mabel she only wanted him to promote her beauty products. When he backed out, she sold her handkerchief. The trio finds "fucking pig" written on Ben's mirror with lipstick. Cinda offers Mabel a job, but she turns it down. Meanwhile, Charles proposes to Joy. Joy then recognizes the lipstick in Ben's dressing room as hers. Mabel meets Tobert at a restaurant to watch Jonathan, Ben's understudy. They spot him exchanging something with Ben's doctor. Meanwhile, Oliver has dinner at Loretta's place and is shocked when she calls Ben a fucking pig and admits they had a scuffle on opening night. Joy later explains to Charles that she left her lipstick in Ben's dressing room after fixing a mark on his face. Charles also admits his proposal was accidental, leading Joy to break up with him. Mabel and Tobert kiss after she shows him her clue board. Oliver and Loretta sleep together, but he later discovers a scrapbook in her apartment filled with news clippings about Ben. After Howard claims to have seen a ghost at the theater, the trio heads there to investigate. Mabel and Tobert confront Jonathan about his meeting with Ben's doctor. Turns out Jonathan was just taking anti-anxiety meds because he hates being lead actor. Oliver discovers his old director friend, Jerry, has been living in the theater's attic and was pretending to be the ghost. Jerry also reveals he witnessed the fight between Ben, Loretta, and Charles. Oliver accuses Charles of hiding the fight and blames Mabel for sabotaging his show with her investigation. Frustrated, Charles quits the play, and Mabel, upset, reveals Cinda's job offer and vows to keep investigating on her own. Charles discovers Uma stole Ben's handkerchief, but she sold it before he can get it. Mabel learns from Ben's brother Dickie that he was adopted and always lived in Ben's shadow. She theorizes with Tobert and Theo that he might be the killer. Oliver and Charles find the scrapbook Loretta kept on Ben and decide to give it to Mabel, only to discover she's moved out and started the podcast's new season without them. After listening to the first episode, which reveals Greg isn't the killer, Detective Biswas reopens Ben's case. Flashbacks reveal that Dickie is Loretta's biological son, whom she gave up for adoption to pursue her acting career. She kept track of him and Ben over the years. She auditioned to reunite with him. Loretta decides to tell Dickie the truth in a letter, but the police lock down the theater, saying the killer is among the cast or crew. The trio reconciles and resumes their investigation. Loretta learns that Dickie is a suspect and refuses to believe it. During rehearsal, Loretta sees the police approaching Dickie and confesses to Ben's murder to protect him. As she's taken away in handcuffs, Oliver suffers a heart attack and collapses. After Oliver's recovery, the trio discovers that Dickie has an alibi for the time of Ben's murder. They use the clues they've gathered to recreate the last 30 minutes before Ben collapsed on stage. Ben arrived late to the theater after visiting his seamstress friends, who helped him make the handkerchiefs for the cast. Ben fired Tobert, ate a cookie, and wrote "fucking pig" on his mirror out of guilt for ruining his diet. The trio concludes that the producer of the show, Donna, poisoned Ben to protect her career. They rush to court to stop Loretta from pleading guilty, only to find Donna among the witnesses. With enough evidence, the trio force Donna to confess. She surprisingly confesses to Ben's murder but asks to see the play before her arrest. Oliver steps in as the lead when Jonathan overdoses on anti-anxiety meds, and Loretta finally reveals to Dickie that she's his biological mother. Meanwhile, Mabel realizes and followed Donna's son Cliff, as he the one who pushed Ben down the elevator shaft. Cliff, overcome with guilt, claims it was an accident and tries to jump from the stage, but Donna stops him. Both are taken into custody as the play ends successfully. At the after-party, Dickie, Loretta, and Tobert share their plans to head to L.A. But the trio decides to stay in New York. As they celebrate, Saz pulls Charles aside to talk, but is shot by an unknown assailant in his apartment.